Hi, it's me, Dr. KT, and welcome to Odd Duck Science. And to all of our new subscribers and followers, hello. Welcome. We are so glad that you are here, and we're about to jump into the science. All right, throughout my graduate career, I studied this one group of chemicals called PFAS. And PFAS stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, also known as forever chemicals. And the reason that we call them forever chemicals is because once they're in the environment, they don't go away. They're pretty much there forever. Now, when we're looking at these chemicals, what we also know is that they have a long half-life. So a half-life is the amount of time it takes for a chemical or drug to decrease from its original strength to half of its strength. So if we're thinking about the number 10, we would measure how long it takes to go from a concentration of 10 to a concentration of 5. And normally it's pretty quickly. You know, we poop it and pee it out at an expeditiously rate. That's normal. These chemicals, not so much. They stay with us for quite some time, which is why we can say they also bioaccumulate, which means they just keep building in our system because we're not readily getting rid of them. Now, I know you're saying, oh gosh, okay. So where are these chemicals and where would I see them? So glad you asked. So we're exposed to them quite a few different places. Like if we took your blood test right now, we will probably find PFAS in your system. You come in contact with PFAS. You think about umbrellas, you think about rain boots, anything that's waterproof or anything that is grease proof or oil proof. Think about your carpets. Think about your upholstery when you put that Scotch Guard on, anything that is stain resistant, it's in there. Kids' uniforms, the school clothes. Think about waterproof cosmetics, nonstick cookware, those gosh awful paper straws. That's a whole nother thing. I do not like paper straws, but for good reason. They have PFAS in them. So what we're finding out is that these chemicals are in so many different things. If you've been to a drive-through or you've ordered pizza, you've realized the reason the box isn't greasy or the bag isn't oily is because PFAS is in it. Another thing I want to bring your attention to is we're starting to see PFAS is found in menstrual products like tampons, pads, and the new thing, the new wave, which is period panties. Now let's talk about why any of this should be a concern. What we do know about this chemical is that it has been linked to different types of cancer, thyroid cancer. It's also been linked to liver cancer. We know that it has effects on fertility. It has effects on just reproductive health. So children sometimes are born with low birth weights because of exposure to PFAS. We've also known that it hinders the immune system. Either it weakens it so that you can't respond to a normal infection, or it kicks it to the next level and it makes it super sensitive and you end up with autoimmune disorders. Now, these are just a small smidget amount of the things that are going on within these drugs. And I would be remiss if I don't mention that some of the chemicals of PFAS was put into the waterways. So yeah, that's another way, ingesting it. Certain beaches, certain areas in certain places have quite a bit of PFAS. So if you're thinking about North Carolina, which is where I'm from, there are some areas, and that's a whole nother episode that we'll get into. Now, with the research, what we're finding is there are scientists who are curious about how much PFAS is actually in our menstrual products. So they took a great collection and surveyed pads, tampons, and the period panties. And what they found is the majority of them had them, and over a third of period panties had PFAS in them. And it was way above the amount that is allowed. And I know you're like, they allow that? Sadly, yes, there is an allowable amount. Now, there's a lawsuit out for a period panty company. I won't mention the name, but you can surely Google it. And with this company, some of the plaintiffs are saying that they noticed that they had an irregular cycle while using them, cramping increase, and they saw a lot of hormonal issues. which is not surprising because we know PFAS can be a hormonal disruptor. And what that means, you start thinking about the endocrine system and how the body always wants to be in homeostasis. These chemicals take the body out of homeostasis and either allows us to overproduce or to underproduce. So there's some effects there. Now, the interesting part and sad part is we don't know what the long-term effects of using PFAS in those sensitive areas, because you have to remember the skin is the largest organ in the body and it's very absorptive. There has tons of pores. So think about in menstrual products, what's happening is that area, the vulva and the vaginal cavity, is being exposed to these chemicals. We do not know the long-term effects of this, and so research needs to continue, and we need to get these answers out to help women who are menstruating to make sure that they are making informed decisions when they're buying their products. Now, let's look at the 3 Ds of this. The first D, decode. What is the science behind this? So what we know is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, are a group of chemicals that stay around forever. They have been linked to diseases, disorders, different types of cancers, infertility, and the list goes on. Second D, diversify. Why should I care? Oh my goodness, because over half of the world is menstruating. In times past, women have used things like wool or things like different types of cotton, like 100% cotton, and that was seen effective. As time progressed on, we tried to do different things and we tried to advance the science. And I don't think any of these chemical companies intentionally created something that was going to create harm. I think they were trying to answer a question and provide a solution. And so in doing that, this also created a problem. So what we're going to do is become smarter consumers. So when it comes to women, we're going to look for products that are, say, PFAS free, or we're going to look for 100% cotton. For men and families, period, we're going to look at things that are PFAS free as far as getting rid of those nonstick pans. We're going to switch to cast iron and stainless steel, getting rid of those paper straws. We're going to get rid of those. We're going to use utensils that are no longer plastic. We're going to use metal. We're going to use the good old-fashioned wooden or bamboo. We're going to swap out and try some different things to see what works best for us and what is less toxic for us, because we know we are all living in a chemical soup, and the idea is to make sure that we reduce our exposure as much as possible. The last D, dazzle. How do I put my dazzle on this? So this is going to take work. As all my videos say, you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to be an advocate for the people in your community. Regardless of what's going on in the world and how they are trying to divide us, we're supposed to look after one another. And the way that we're going to do that is disseminate information. So that means what you learn today, you're going to share with someone else. There's always someone in the world who is menstruating, someone that you know who's about to menstruate or just finished, or someone who is using non-stick cookware, or someone who is using floss or anything that has PFAS in it. We can have those conversations and say, hey, let's switch out to the rope version of that. Let's switch out and try something different. As always, I hope you learned something today. And remember, science is accessible to everyone. Until next time.